Today we're going to talk about community and mental wellness, particularly with our favorite sport, skydiving. My name is Tracy Holman. Before we get started, I want you to take a minute to think about what community means to you and the impact mental wellness has on our skydiving community. Before we get started, because we're talking about mental wellness and health, we're going to go over a disclaimer. Any information in this presentation is used for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice, and no doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of information from this presentation or materials linked is at the user's own risk. The content of this presentation is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition that they may have and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions. We are not medical providers, physician, psychiatrist, nurse practitioner, etc., and we are not providing healthcare, medical, or nutritional therapy services or attempting to diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure any physical, mental, or emotional issue, disease, or condition. So first we're going to talk about our skydiving community. We know that we get into the sport because it's a fun activity, but any skydiver that you talk to stays in the sport for the community. You get to hang out with people from 18 years old to 60 years old, and all of them are your friends. And there's not another community where you can meet people from such different backgrounds and get along and all hang out together. So community is very important, and we want to make sure that at your drop zone and at our drop zone, everybody becomes a part of that community, even in their first visit. So think about, what does that look like at your drop zone for a tandem? If they come in, they just signed up for the scariest thing they've ever done in their life, and they walk into your hangar, they don't necessarily know where to go. They see someone working on a plane to one side, they see someone packing a parachute on the other side, and they're a little bit nervous, don't know where to go, don't want to come ask any questions. Go up to them, invite them to come in, let them ask any questions to you. They can show them where the office is, and then when you land, feel free to talk to them. Like, they just watched you skydive in that waiting period that they're super nervous waiting for their tandem. They watched you jump out of a plane, you landed in front of them, you're the coolest thing they've ever seen. Feel free to go up and talk to them, answer any questions that they may have, let them touch your parachute, let them ask how high you went. Really connect them with that community, let them know that we're approachable and we can talk to them right away, and that'll help get them engaged and want to come back for more. Also, think about what that experience looks like for your recent A-license graduate. Maybe they got to build a relationship with 1 or 2, 3 instructors the whole time they were doing their student course, and then they get their A-license and the instructor says, go find someone to jump with, and they don't know anyone else at the drop zone. If you see, an unfamiliar face, go up to them, invite them on a jump. Figure out what they're working on or what their goals are, or let them know what you're working on, so that way they have future goals that they can set, that they can meet, that they can chase after in this sport. And then also even experienced jumpers. So you have an experienced jumper come to your drop zone, but it's coming to your drop zone for their first time. Show them where to go. Make sure that you're not just jumping with the same people that you always jump with. Go find that unfamiliar face and invite them to jump with you. See what they're working on. See where they came from. Where did they get their license? They might be used to jumping out of a Cessna and you have an Otter, or the opposite. They might be used to jumping out of an Otter and you have a Cessna. So show them how to do the different exits from the aircraft. Let them know kind of the procedures at your drop zone, and really just welcome them into your community. So all of those relationships are very important for the sport, for the experience at your drop zone overall, and also for mental wellness, because relationships have an extremely beneficial effect on how we feel overall, mind and body. So now we're going to talk about our brain on skydiving. After we jump out of a plane, there's a very exciting combination of chemicals that are released in our brain, which is what makes the activity very exciting for us. So one of them are endorphins. Endorphins really make you feel good. It's got that euphoric feeling. So some people, if you talk to long distance runners, they kind of talk about endorphins, and you hear about that endorphin high. Like they feel really good after they get their jump in, or after they get their run in. We get that same sort of feeling after jumping out of a plane as well. Another chemical that's released is adrenaline, which is also known as epinephrine. So you get that during any experience that's threatening or exciting. Surprisingly, it's the same physiological response. The same thing is happening in your body, whether you are being threatened, by somebody coming to attack you or something, or if you are very excited about something. So it just depends on kind of how you're perceiving that situation. So for like a skydive, we all love skydiving. It's very exciting for us. But for some people, that might be a little bit too threatening, and so they don't like that experience, even though physiologically it's the same thing happening in your body. So that's increased heart rate, increased mental clarity, increased reaction time, so that way you can handle anything that's going to come at you. Another chemical that's released after we skydive is dopamine. So traditionally, this is kind of thought of as the happy hormone, but I think it's more accurately described as like the motivation to want to do something pleasurable. So you're chasing after doing that pleasurable activity. That's from dopamine. It is also related to movement and memory, and it's really kind of more that feeling of wanting. And it gives you the motivation to go after what you want. Serotonin is the last chemical that we're going to talk about in this presentation that's released from skydiving, and that's really the calm, feel-good hormone. It moderates mood, positive feelings. It increases your focus, increases that calm, and it really gives you like the contentment with having. So you're really happy with everything that you have. So all of the chemicals that we've talked about have a natural baseline. And so some people are going to naturally be keyed up. They're going to be a little bit more enthusiastic. They're going to be a little bit more motivated. Whereas some people's natural baseline is going to be a bit lower, and it might take a little bit more to get them motivated. And this baseline is dependent on a lot of different factors. One of them is genetics. So just kind of the baseline chemicals that you're born with. Some of them are based on behaviors that you do. Some of them are based on sleep, the quality and quantity of sleep that you get. Some of it is based on nutrition, kind of what you're eating and feeding your body. Some of it is based on the levels of other chemicals that you already have in your brain. So for example, epinephrine is made from dopamine. So if you naturally have a lower level of dopamine in your brain, then you're probably going to have a lower level of epinephrine. It's also related to, based on history and trauma. So this can include something as young as they're finding more information about when you were 0 to 2 months old, kind of how you related to your caretaker can have a significant effect on how your brain developed for the rest of your life and how you related to other people and other situations for the whole rest of your life. So it could be things that you're aware of and things you're doing now, things that you're not aware of and that are part of your past. And there's lots of different factors that go into what make up your baseline. So, as I mentioned, all of these chemicals want to stay at their natural baseline. So your brain, if you do any activities that kind of shoot those brain chemicals up, then in response, it's going to want to dip back below that line. So that way, slowly, it'll get to that back to that baseline. So any of these activities that we're going to talk about now are dysregulators, are these activities that either shoot the brain chemicals up or shoot the brain chemicals down and kind of get them really far penduluming away from that baseline. So some dysregulators include alcohol. Alcohol is a huge dysregulator, particularly because of its effect on sleep. Even if you're only having 1 or 2 drinks a night, something relatively small, that is going to decrease the quality of your sleep significantly. Even if you're falling asleep okay, the quality of sleep that you're getting, the quality of deep sleep that you're getting are all going to be severely limited, along with other factors, especially with higher levels of alcohol use, has an extremely dysregulating effect on your body. Another dysregulator are drugs. Obviously, there are uppers or downers, prescription, non-prescription. All of those are going to have effect on your brain chemistry. Lack of sleep. So as I mentioned a little bit regarding alcohol, whether you're not getting enough quantity of sleep or whether you're not getting a high quality of sleep, it's going to make your body work much less efficiently, both physically and mentally, which is going to have, it's not going to allow it to be able to regulate itself as well as it could if you got high quality sleep. Stress, obviously, like if it's work stress, relationship stress, or any source of stress that you have is going to have a dysregulating effect on your brain chemistry. Trauma, as I kind of mentioned earlier, this could be past trauma that maybe you're not aware of, or it could be something like you got in a fender bender 6 months ago. That could still have a dysregulating effect on your mental health. Being in an insecure environment, so whether that's something as obvious as being abused or being in an unsafe environment, that can also include harassment or discrimination. So even if you feel safe or you're not like directly being threatened in any way, but if you live in an environment where there's constantly this low level of discrimination that you're feeling like you have to fight against, that can have a dysregulating effect on your body. Food and financial insecurity, so if you don't know where your next meal is coming from, if you're not sure you're going to be able to keep your house for this month or pay your bills, like those are all very stressful activities, and being in those insecure environments can have an extremely dysregulating effect on you. And then, of course, living in an unsafe area, if you don't feel safe walking to and from your car to go to work every day, that's going to be very stressful and have a dysregulating effect as well. Also, things you might not think about, poor or processed nutrition. So nowadays, due to convenience and other things, we tend to eat a lot more processed food. We're eating food that's referred to as hyperpalatable, so it tastes really good, but it's not necessarily nutritionally full or nutritionally dense, so we're not getting the nutrients we need, but we're still eating more than we should because it tastes really good. So really, like increased sugar, those increased processed foods, all of those will have a dysregulating effect on our body as well. Being overweight, so even if you're eating really well but you're overweight, that can have a dysregulating effect because it really changes the metabolism in your body and kind of how your cells are processing things. And then social media. So we kind of hear about this particularly related to teenagers or like teenage girls nowadays. But social media has a dysregulating effect on us all. So every time we're looking at that feed and we're scrolling, we're getting that little tiny hit of dopamine, and that's gonna keep us scrolling, but without the benefits of actually like improving anything necessarily in our lives. And depending upon the type of material that you're looking at, it can also get a little bit of the grass is greener on the other side. So you become unhappy with what you have, and you're constantly wanting what you think other people have in their picture perfect profiles. So the good news is there's lots of regulating activities that you can also incorporate into your life and your daily habits, which will have a positive effect on your mental and physical wellness. So sleep is huge. A lot of the information that we got for this presentation is from Andrew Huberman, who is a professor of neurobiology at Stanford University. And he has a podcast called the Huberman Lab Podcast, which is very informative. And he said that sleep is the best nootropic, is the best stress relief, is the best trauma release, is the best immune booster, is the best hormone augmentation, and is the best emotional stabilizer. All of those answers are sleep. So we are looking for kind of this magic pill or this magic potion that will help make us feel better, and we have it, it's sleep. So we're gonna kind of go over some tips to help you get better or longer sleep, better quality, longer duration. So one is to sleep at the same time every day. So go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time. This is not necessarily the easiest thing to do or the most popular, because on weekends we like to stay up a little bit later and sleep in a little bit later. But when you do that, you can have a dysregulating effect on the whole rest of your week. So the whole week, like if you stay up and there's a 5-hour difference between your weekends and your weekdays, it takes all the way until Friday for your body to kind of get back to normal, to get back to that schedule, and then you're right into the weekend where you're going to kind of mess up that schedule again. So in order to get the best sleep, you really want to go to sleep at the same time and wake up at the same time approximately every day. Another thing related to sleep is you want to make sure that you're sleeping in cooler temperatures. So below 68 degrees. Even if you're kind of a warm body person, cool down your house or cool down your sleeping situation as much as you can at night, just because your body needs to cool down in order to get that good high quality sleep. Another thing related to sleep is when you wake up in the morning, you want to get sunlight directly to your eyes. So this is within the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking up. Go outside, and this is without sunglasses. This is not looking at the sun through a window. Please make sure you don't look directly at the sun, but you want to go outside and get that natural sunlight to your eyes. It's really going to help set your circadian rhythm so that way you can fall asleep more quickly and more easily the next night. Also, make sure for sleep that you don't want to look at any bright lights between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. So that can be on your phone, that can be looking at a TV, that can be an overhead light. When you are looking at those lights between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m., that will significantly decrease the amount of dopamine that you have the next day. So that's decreasing the amount of motivation that you have to get stuff done the next day just because you're looking at lights from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. So all of those things will help you get higher quality sleep and make sure you get more consistent, kind of a longer bout of sleep, and that'll all be extremely beneficial for you. Whole nutrition is also very, very important. So you want to make sure that you're eating foods that you can read the nutrient label of. So instead of eating the over-processed stuff, look at the ingredients, make sure that you can pronounce all of the names, or even better, get something around the edge of your grocery store, like from the produce section that doesn't even have a label on it. You want to reduce your sugar. Make sure that you're hydrating. So if you are struggling even with things like mental clarity, kind of drink some water. So that's related a lot to mental clarity. Drink some water. If you are about to grab a snack because you think that you're hungry, drink some water first, because a lot of times when we think that we're hungry, it's actually we're thirsty. And also gut health overall. Like there's more and more information coming out about this, but eat fermented foods, things like kimchi, sauerkraut, kombucha, like all of those things are going to help keep our gut microbiome really diverse, which is good for digesting all sorts of types of food. When you're eating, also try to eat, you want to include protein, you want to include healthy fats, and you want to eat carbohydrates with plenty of fiber. So all of those, by hitting all of those macronutrients, you know that you're going to be getting a variety of nutrients in your body that includes all that whole nutrition, which is good. So physical activity is also extremely important, extremely beneficial for you, both mind and body. My undergraduate degree is in kinesiology, so I feel like I could talk about physical activity for a very long time. But one of its benefits is it's actually a very effective antidepressant. There was a recent study that came out from Australia that had demonstrated that physical activity was 1.5 times more effective than either therapy or antidepressant medication. So we're not recommending to stop going to therapy, we're not recommending to get off of your antidepressant medication, but physical activity can be a very beneficial effect to kind of add to your therapy options, or even if you don't need therapy, like go, it'll make you feel better. So physical activity is extremely beneficial in that manner. It's also like a really good stress reliever. So even in a short-term situation, if you're very stressed out, go for a run or go lift some weights. It will probably make you feel better, and it has an extremely beneficial effect even at your cellular level to be able to handle all that stress. And it's also very protective against a lot of different diseases, including like diabetes, including Alzheimer's, including cardiovascular disease. So cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer in the United States, which includes heart attacks, high blood pressure, things like that, strokes. All of those, the likelihood of getting them or having any of those issues is significantly decreased with regular physical activity. So get your physical activity. It has a very protective effect on lots of different avenues of your life. A support network is also a very positive effect on your mental wellness and your physical wellness, because if you have somebody, like, you want somebody to listen to you, right? Like whether it be your best friend, whether it be a sister, you just need someone that's there to listen to you and really understand and empathize with any situation that you're going through. And that's going to have, like, all of our relationships have a very protective effect on our life. It gives us resources when we need resources. And so that's a good thing to have in your life. Security, so this includes financial, emotional, physical security, living in that safe area, making sure that you know you can get your bills taken care of. All of those things will also have a protective and regulating effect. Meditation and breathing or tapping are all also like things that you can start practicing today, even if it's only 2 minutes a day, that's going to have a very regulating effect on your body. So breathing in particular, like getting in a good breathing practice, there are things that you can do. There are particular breathing patterns that you can take, even if you're super stressed out. So you just had that fender bender and you need to calm down and you're having a hard time getting your body to calm down, there are certain breathing patterns that you can take that will immediately activate what's called your parasympathetic nervous system. So your sympathetic nervous system is the one that keys you up, that fight or flight that's ready to go. And then your parasympathetic nervous system is the one that kind of that calms you down and gets you ready for sleep or any of those calming, relaxing activities. So there are breathing patterns that you can learn and practice and take in those situations that will immediately activate your parasympathetic nervous system. So that way your whole body can start to calm down and process effectively. There are lots of apps related to meditation that could kind of help you get into that breathing practice. Meditation also has its own protective benefits, especially if you do it and you start to practice it regularly. But there are several apps that you can use. We don't recommend anyone in particular, but just listing some of the ones that we've heard of. There's Calm, Balance, Insight Timer, and Reverie, and I'm sure there's 3 handfuls of other ones. So feel free to find the meditation app that works best for you. But meditation, breathing, tapping are all things that can situationally help you immediately kind of get back to the good mental space that you want to be in. Counseling obviously is also going to be extremely regulating, beneficial. If you go see a therapist or a counselor, anybody, they're going to be able to give you way more tools than we're giving you here in this talk, so highly recommend that for everybody. And also cold showers and baths. So this is like more and more research is becoming more popular, especially kind of in the athlete realm, but cold showers and baths have an extremely protective effect at a cellular level of what our brains and bodies are doing. So it's going to help increase resilience, which is your ability to handle kind of either unsuspected or hard situations. So it's going to increase that grit, it's going to increase that resilience, so that way both your brain and your body can handle hard situations better. So bottom line, skydiving causes an exciting group of chemicals to be released, which is why we like it. But it can have a potentially dysregulating effect on our daily lives. So if you or someone that you know doesn't feel well, just know that you're not alone, that there are reasons for this, and that there are resources for you, which we're going to go over next. As we get into these mental wellness resources, just know that there are people out there to help. If you break your leg, you're going to go to your primary care physician or you're going to go to the ER in order for them to fix it. So if you come to your drop zone management, SNTA, we are happy to talk to you as part of your community, but we are not mental wellness professionals. So if you have any concerns that you want addressed, please go seek professional advice. So some mental wellness resources we're going to go over include the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. So they have a phone number you can call or you can text. They are a treatment referral routing service, so information for people facing mental or substance abuse disorders, and they really provide referrals to local treatment facilities, support groups, and community-based organizations. So they'll help you find an organization close to you that can help. There's also the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, which was formerly the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. You can dial 988. You can also text SIGNS, S-I-G-N-S, to 741-741, or they have a website for online chat and more information. This, along with a lot of these other resources, are 24/7. They are free and confidential, and we particularly like this one because it's not only for people in suicidal crisis and emotional distress, but also for their friends and family. So if you have somebody that you're concerned about, if you have a friend or a family member, feel free to call this number, and they're going to help provide you with more information. They'll help walk you through all these steps of finding a therapist or support group, building a support network, using your support network, and making a safety plan for the person in jeopardy. So now we're going to kind of talk about some online therapy resources, which we think is particularly beneficial for the skydiving community because a lot of us like to travel and we're not always in a space where that way we can find a brick and mortar therapist for us. So an online therapist is a good option because then we can bring our therapist with us wherever we go. So all of these are kind of listed. They're in alphabetical order. We don't recommend one over another. Also, for most of them, when you get on their website, they're going to ask a questionnaire, which will really help narrow down the type of therapist that you're looking for that'll help you handle what you are struggling with. So, or just help find a good therapist for you. Also know that a lot of these programs, or all of these programs, accept insurance or accept the uninsured. So if you are uninsured, if you're underinsured, or if you have great insurance, like all of these accept all of those different options, and it's usually for less than 2 lift tickets that you can go talk to somebody once a week or once a month just to check in and have somebody to talk to and provide those additional resources for you. The resources we have down are for BetterHelp, Brightside Health, Calmery, Cerebral, Live Health Online, OpenPath, Talkiatry, and Talkspace. Know that when you're looking for a therapist, it might take more than one session in order to make sure that that therapist is right for you. So the first session you have is probably going to be pretty exploratory, and you might not get a good sense for how that therapist communicates with you and if it's going to be a good fit. So feel free to do a handful of sessions with a therapist, and if you still aren't really communicating well with them, or you don't feel like they're going to be a good resource for you, feel free to try another one. It frequently takes going through or trying a couple different therapists for you that are going to work. So the last resource we're going to go over is the cdc.gov. They have a good website for mental health, which has different sections based off of what situation you're in. So whether you are dealing with crisis, abuse, assault, or violence, LGBTQ, older adults, veterans or active duty military, looking for finding treatment, or opioid treatment. They have different resources for you. It's also really interesting because they have a campaign currently going on called How Right Now, which is designed to strengthen emotional well-being and resiliency. So basically, if you just go to that website, it's really interesting. You put in kind of how you're feeling for the day. They will ask how you're feeling. There's a bunch of different options. And then when you click on that, it will tell you how or why you could be feeling that way and different resources available for you. So it's a pretty interesting website. So take care of yourself so you can be there for your friends, and together we can enjoy the things we love to do.